Hello, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to my channel for another Saturday live stream where we make fun of the Bible because making fun of the Bible's fun. I mean, come on. Everybody should do it, right? Anyway, so I do have a comment of the week for you, and this week's comment of the week goes to Selena Felicity White under The Flood Never Happened. Fun fact, nowhere in the Bible does it say that the people in Noah's flood myth were offered the chance to repent. Furthermore, why didn't Yahweh keep his word to Adam and Eve? That is, why didn't they die the day they ate the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil? Then create a new couple. Good question, Selena. Good question. And it is ironic that these biblical literalists read stuff into the Bible that isn't there. Like, like I brought this up last time, or not last time, but I brought this up in my last John Pendleton video, that God never said, bring me a sacrifice. He didn't say, bring me a sheep a sacrifice. And nowhere in the Bible does it say that, nowhere in Genesis, I should say, does it say that the sheep is an intermediary between man and God. What is wrong with these people? If there is, they cannot be biblical literalists. They are literally reading shit into the text that isn't there. Okay, now that I got my blood boiling, let's get on to the main event. So, we are in chapter 18, and we're actually going to finish 2 Samuel today. So, hang on for a wild ride. Chapter 18, David mustered the men who were with him and appointed over them commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds. David sent out his troops, a third under the command of Joab, a third under Joab's brother Abishai, son of Zeruiah, and a third under Ittai the Gittite. Ittai the Gittite, Ittai the Gittite, Ittai the Gittite. I'm sorry. I really am. I just had to say that 3 times fast. Hey, Crypta. Hang on, let me share my screen since I forgot to do it. Alrighty. There you go. Alrighty. King told the troops, I myself will surely march out with you. But the men said, you must not go out. If we are forced to flee, they won't care about us. Even if half of us die, they won't care. But you are worth 10,000 of us. It would be better now for you to give us support from the city. Yeah, I call bullshit on that. Because in that day and age, it was customary for kings to ride out in front of their armies. So that is just bullshit. Bald-faced lie. Alrighty, moving on. So the king stood beside the gate while all his men marched out in units of hundreds and of thousands. The king commanded Joab, Abishai, and Hittai, be gentle with the young man Absalom for my sake. and all the troops heard the king giving orders concerning Absalom to each of the commanders. David's army marched out of the city to fight Israel, and the battle took place in the forest of Ephraim. There, Israel's troops were routed by David's men, and the casualties that day were great, 20,000 men. The battle spread out over the whole countryside, and the forest swallowed up more men that day than the sword. Now Absalom happened to meet David's men. He was riding his mule, and as the mule went under the thick branches of a large oak, Absalom's hair got caught in the tree. He was left hanging in midair while the mule was riding, kept on going. Oh my God. This is not a fucking book for children, people. As if I really needed to tell you that. Verse 10. When one of the men saw what had happened he told Joab, I just saw Absalom hanging in an oak tree. Joab said to the man who had told him this, What? You saw him? Why didn't you strike him to the ground right there? Then I would have had to give you 10 shekels of silver and a warrior's belt. What? Okay. That doesn't make any sense. Joab, your boss told you to be gentle with Absalom. Like, what the fuck? But the man replied, Even if 1,000 shekels were weighed out into my hands, I would not lay a hand on the king's son. In our hearing, the king commanded you and Abishai and Ittai, protect the young man Absalom for my sake. And if I had put my life in jeopardy and nothing is hidden from the king, you would have kept your distance from me. Joab said, I'm not going to wait like this for you. So he took 3 javelins in his hand and plunged them into Absalom's heart while Absalom was still alive in the oak tree. Oh my God. Again, people, this is not a book for children. Why do people think this is a book for children? And 10 of Joab's armor bearers surrounded Absalom, struck him. Sorry about that. Struck him and killed him. Then Joab sounded the trumpet, and the troops stopped pursuing Israel, for Joab halted them. They took Absalom, threw him into a big pit in the forest, and piled up a large heap of rocks over him. Meanwhile, all the Israelites fled to their homes. During his lifetime, Absalom had taken a pillar and erected it in the king's valley as a monument to himself, for he thought, I have no son to carry on the memory of my name. He named the pillar after himself, and it is called Absalom's monument to this day. Great. So where is it? Where the fuck is it? Take us to that monument. Take us to the monument that is called Absalom's monument to this day, and we will believe you. Maybe. If it has Absalom's monument written on it. Maybe we'll believe you then. Until then, leave us the fuck alone. Verse 19. Now Ahimaaz, son of Zadok, said, Let me run and take the news to the king that the Lord has vindicated him by delivering him from the hand of his enemies. You are not the one to take the news today, Joab told him. You may take the news another time, but you must not do so today because the king's son is dead. Well, you're the one that killed him, Joab, you dumbass. Verse 21. Then Joab said to a Cushite, Oh, great! He doesn't get a name, just a Cushite. Wow, that's not ethnic. That's not ethnicist or anything, is it? What the fuck? Go tell the king what you have seen. The Cushite bowed down before Joab and ran off. Ahimaaz, son of Zadok, again said to Joab, come what may, please let me run behind the Cushite. Again, no name. What the fuck is wrong with these people? But Joab replied, my son, why do you want to go? You don't have any news that will bring you a reward. He said, come what may, I want to run. So Joab said, run. Then Ahimaaz ran by, waved the plain, and outran the Cushite. While David was sitting between the inner and outer gates, the watchman went up to the roof of the gateway by the wall. As he looked out, he saw a man running alone. The watchman called out to the king and reported it. The king said, if he is alone, he must have good news. And the runner came closer and closer. Then the watchman saw another runner, and he called down to the gatekeeper, look, another man running alone. The king said he must be bringing good news too. The watchman said, it seems to me that the first one runs like Ahimaaz, son of Zadok. He's a good man, the king said. He comes with good news. Then Ahimaaz called out to the king, all is well. He bowed down before the king with his face to the ground and said, praise be to the Lord your God. He has delivered up those who have lifted hands against my lord the king. The king asked, is the young man Absalom safe? Ahimaaz answered, I saw great confusion just as Joab was about to send the king's servant and me, your servant, but I don't know what it was. The king said, stand aside and wait here. So he stepped aside and stood there. Then the Cushite arrived and said, oh my God, so you're going to let the nameless Cushite take the brunt of David's anger? What is wrong with you fucking people? Ugh. Verse 31. Then the Cushite arrived and said, my lord the king, here is the good news. The Lord has vindicated you today by delivering you from the hand of all who rose up against you. The king asked the Cushite, is the young man Absalom safe? The Cushite replied, may the enemies of my lord the king and all who rise up to harm you be like that young man. The king was shaken. He went up to the room over the gateway and wept. As he went, he said, oh, my son Absalom, my son Absalom, if only I had died instead of you. Oh, Absalom, my son, my son. Chapter 19. Joab was told, the king is weeping and mourning for Absalom. And for the whole army, the victory that day was turned into mourning because on that day the troops heard it said, the king is grieving for his son. Well, like, duh, he's still his son. I mean, my God, you people are dense. Verse 3. The men stole into the city that day as men steal who are ashamed when they flee from battle. The king covered his face and cried aloud, O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son. Then Joab went into the house to the king and said, today you have humiliated all your men who have just saved your life and the lives of your sons and daughters and the lives of your wives and concubines. You love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that the commanders and their men mean nothing to you. I see that you would be pleased if Absalom were alive today and all of us were dead. Now go out and encourage your men. I swear by the Lord that if you don't go out, not a man will be left with you by nightfall. This will be worse for you than all the calamities that have come on you from your youth till now. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Seriously. Seriously. Somebody tell me what the fuck is wrong with these people? Thank you, Crypta. All right. Okay. Verse 8. So the king got up and took his seat in the gateway. When the men were told the king is sitting in the gateway, they all came before him. Meanwhile, the Israelites had fled to their homes. Throughout the tribes of Israel, all the people were arguing among themselves, saying, the king has delivered us from the hand of our enemies. He is the one who rescued us from the hand of the Philistines, but now he has fled the country to escape from Absalom. Excuse me. Verse 10, and Absalom, whom we anointed to rule over us, has died in battle. So why do you say nothing about bringing the king back? King David sent this message to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Ask the elders of Judah, why should you be the last to bring the king back to his palace, since what is being said throughout Israel has reached the king at his quarters? You are my relatives, my own flesh and blood. So why should you be the last to bring back the king? Sorry. And say to Amasa, are you not my own flesh and blood? May God deal with me, be it ever so severely, if you are not the commander of my army for a life in place of Joab. Well, finally we got some people making sense here. Jesus fuck. Okay. Verse 14. He won over the hearts of the men of Judah so that they were all of one mind. They sent word to the king, return, you and all your men. Then the king returned and went as far as the Jordan. Now the men of Judah had come to Gilgal to go out and meet the king and bring him across the Jordan. Shimei, son of Gera, the Benjamite from Bahurim, hurried down with the men of Judah to meet King David. With him were 1,000 Benjamites, along with Ziba, the steward of Saul's house, and his 15 sons and 20 servants. They rushed to the Jordan where the king was. They crossed at the ford to take the king's household over and to do whatever he wished. When Shimei, son of Gera, crossed the Jordan, he fell prostrate before the king and said, May my Lord not hold me guilty. Do not remember how your servant did wrong on the day my lord the king left Jerusalem. May the king put it out of his mind. For I, your servant, know that I have sinned. But today I have come here as the first from the tribes of Joseph, to come down and meet my lord the king. Then Abishai, son of Zeruiah, said, Shouldn't Shimei be put to death for this? He cursed the Lord's anointed. David replied, What does this have to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? What right do you have to interfere? Should anyone be put to death in Israel today? Don't I know that today I am king over Israel? So the king said to Shimei, You shall not die. And the king promised him on oath. Mephibosheth, Saul's grandson, also went down to meet the king. He had not taken care of his feet or trimmed his mustache or washed his clothes from the day the king left until the day he returned safely. When he came down from Jerusalem to meet the king asked him, Why didn't you go with me, Mephibosheth? He said, My lord the king, since I, your servant, am lame, I said, I will have my donkey saddled and will ride on it so I can go with the king. But Ziba, my servant, betrayed me, and he slandered your servant, my lord the king. My lord the king is like an angel of God, so do whatever you wish. What is with all this? My lord the king, my lord the king, my lord the king, my lord the king. I mean, so you're kissing his ass, so what? You don't have to say my lord the king every second sentence. Verse 28, all my grandfather's descendants deserve nothing but death for my lord the king. Again, my lord the king, what is up with this? But you gave your servant a place among those who eat at your table. So what right do I have to make any more appeals to the king? The king said to him, Why say more? I order you and Ziba to divide the land. Mephibosheth said to the king, Let him take everything now that my lord the king has returned home safely. Barzillai the Gileadite also came down from Rogelim to cross the Jordan with the king and to send him on his way from there. Now Barzillai was very old, 80 years of age. He had provided for the king during his stay in Mahanaim, for he was a very wealthy man. The king said to Barzillai, Cross over with me and stay with me in Jerusalem, and I will provide for you. But Barzillai answered the king, How many more years will I live that I should go up to Jerusalem with the king? I am now 80 years old. Can I tell the difference between what is enjoyable and what is not? Can your servant taste what he eats and drinks? Can I still hear the voices of male and female singers? Why should your servant be added burden to my lord the king. Your servant will cross over the Jordan with the king for a short distance. But why should the king reward me in this way? Let your servant return, that I may die in my own town, near the tomb of my father and mother. But here is your servant Kimham. Let him cross over with my lord the king. Do for him whatever you wish. The king said, Kimham shall cross over with me, and I will do for him whatever you wish. And anything you desire from me, I will do for you. So all the people crossed the Jordan, and then the king crossed over. The king kissed Barzillai and bid him farewell, and Barzillai returned to his home. When the king crossed over to Gilgal, Kimham crossed with him. All of the troops of Judah and half the troops of Israel had taken the king over. So all the men of Israel were coming to the king and saying to him, why did our brothers, the men of Judah, steal the king away and bring him and his household across the Jordan together with all his men? All the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, we did this because the king is closely related to us. Why are you angry about it? Have we eaten any of the king's provision? Have we taken anything for ourselves? Then the men of Israel answered the men of Judah, we have 10 shares in the king, so we have a greater claim on David than you have. Why then do you treat us with contempt? Weren't we the first to speak of bringing back our king? But the men of Judah pressed their claims even more forcefully than the men of Israel. Oh my God. Oh my God, this is a fucking mess. No, he's our king. No, he's our king. No, we're related to him, not you. What the fuck, people? I'm sorry, guys. But getting back to the story, I need to get my blood pressure down. All right, moving on. Now, a troublemaker named Sheba, son of Bikri, a Benjamite, happened to be there. He sounded the trumpet and shouted, we have no share in David, no part in Jesse's son. Every man to his tent, Israel. Whatever. So, okay. So they're fighting over David, right? He's ours. No, he's ours. No, he's ours. No, he's ours. We have 10 tribes, so he's more ours than yours. Well, he's related to us, so he's more ours than yours. And then all of a sudden, it was like, forget the fucking bastard. We're just going to, we're just going to disown him. We're just going to disown him. Fuck, fuck the bastard. We're going to disown him. You know, set up our own king. Yeah, that's it. No, we're not going to set up our own king. Whatever. What is this? Seriously, what is this? So all the men of Israel deserted David to follow Sheba, son of Bikri, but the men of Judah stayed by their king all the way from the Jordan to Jerusalem. When David returned to his palace in Jerusalem, he took the 10 concubines he had left to take care of the palace and put them in a house under guard. He provided for them but had no sexual relations with them. They were kept in confinement till the day of their death, living as widows. Why? Why? Does this make any goddamn sense? Does this make any goddamn sense? No? Well, good. At least I'm not the only one. I know, Jason. I know, I'm sorry about that. Then the king said to Amasa, summon the men of Judah to come to me within 3 days and be here yourself. But when Amasa went to summon Judah, he took longer than the time the king had set for him. David said to Abishai, now Sheba son of Bikri will do us more harm than Absalom did. Take your master's men and pursue him, or he will find fortified cities and escape from us. So Joab's men and the Kerethites and the Pelethites and all the mighty warriors went out under the command of Abishai. They marched out from Jerusalem to pursue Sheba son of Bikri. While they were at the great rock in Gibeon, Amasa came to meet them. Joab was wearing his military tunic, and strapped over it was his waist with what at his waist was a belt with a dagger in its sheath. He stepped forward and dropped out of its sheath. Joab said to Amasa, how are you, my brother? Then Joab took Amasa by the beard with his right hand to kiss him. Amasa was not on his guard against the dagger in Joab's hand, and Joab plunged it into his belly, and his intestines spilled out into the ground. Without being stabbed again, Amasa died. Then Joab and his brother Abishai pursued Sheba, son of Bikri. One of Joab's men stood beside Amasa and said, whoever favors Joab and whoever is for David, let him follow Joab. Amasa lay wallowing in his blood in the middle of the road, and the men saw that all the troops came to a halt there. When he realized that everyone who came up to Amasa stopped, he dragged him from the road into a field and threw a garment over him. After Amasa had been removed from the road, everyone went on with Joab to pursue Sheba, son of Bikri. Oh my God. We didn't need to know that, okay? We did not need to know that. You could have said we just killed him, okay? I mean, my God. Verse 14, Sheba passed through all the tribes of Israel to Abel, Bethel, Makkah, and through the entire region of the Bikri, who gathered together and followed him. All the troops with Joab came and besieged Sheba and Abel, Beth Makkah. They built a siege ramp up to the city, and it stood against the outer fortifications. While they were battering the wall to bring it down, a wise woman called from the city, listen, listen, tell Joab to come here so I can speak to him. He went toward her, and she asked, are you Joab? I am, he answered. Listen to what your servant has to say. I'm listening. She continued, long ago they used to say, get your answer at Abel, and that settled it. Okay, whatever that's supposed to mean. Does this story have a point? Yeah, you said it, Crypto. Verse 19. We are the peaceful and faithful in Israel. Okay, that's a bit odd to say. You are trying to destroy a city that is a mother in Israel. Why do you want to swallow up the Lord's inheritance? Far be it from me, Joab replied. Far be it from me to swallow up or destroy. That is not the case. A man named Sheba, son of Bikri from the hill country of Ephraim, has lifted up his hand against the king, against David. Hand over this one man, and I'll withdraw from the city. The woman said to Joab, his head will be thrown to you from the... What the fuck is wrong with these people? What the fuck is wrong with these people? We don't need to know how people died, you fucking idiots. All right. Oh, boy. All right. Moving on. Verse 22. Then the woman went to all the people with her wise advice, and they cut off the head of Sheba, son of Bikri, and threw it to Joab. So he sounded the and his men dispersed from the city, each returning to his home. And Joab went back to the king in Jerusalem. Joab was over Israel's entire army. Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, was over the Kerethites and the Pelethites. Adoniram was in charge of forced labor. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was the recorder. Sheba was secretary. Zadok and Abiathar were priests, and Ira the Jairite, try saying that 5 times fast, was David's priest. Okay, you know what? I know I said I was going to finish 2 Samuel today, but I'm stopping it here because I have a fucking headache and I can't stand this fucking nonsense anymore. So I'm going to finish up 2 Samuel next week because of my fucking headache. I can't stand this shit when I have a fucking headache, okay? Sorry, guys. Gotta keep it real with you. So, anyway, good for you, Lisa. Good for you. And remember, tomorrow is Atheist Church. Okay, I will be here tomorrow for Atheist Church. Um, my John Pendleton video may not be out tomorrow for my members. Um, I was ready to put it all together, and then there's another section where he's just so stupid. I'm like, I've got to cover this because logic didn't cover it, So I got to cover this because it's sheer stupidity, right? Thank you. Thank you, Crypta. Yeah, this is definitely not a kids channel. Definitely not a kids channel. So anyway, hit the like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And join me tomorrow for Atheist Church. And I will see you tomorrow. And I will try to get my video pre-release tomorrow for my members. If not tomorrow, it will be on Monday. It will be pre-released. It will be released to everybody on Tuesday. If you want pre-releases, join the channel. You can join for as low as 99 cents a month. I'll talk to you guys later, and you guys have a good rest of your day. Bye, everyone.